Our webinar today is on auto accidents. Auto accidents are our most common cause of loss that we have. Year to year, it's almost always number one. Sometimes it drops to number two if we have a large loss in another area. But auto accidents really give us our biggest exposure that local governments have out there. We have a lot of vehicles out on the road, and they tend to bump into each other every once in a while. And so we focused a lot of attention on this cause of loss over the years, and this year is nothing different. We'll be doing a regional training and starting, let's see, I should have looked that one up. We'll have a regional training, I believe it's in June, on defensive driving. But we wanted to do this webinar and really focus on what happens if you're involved in an automobile accident, because they do happen, and taking the appropriate steps can keep us safe, as well as provide the best possible outcome when a bad situation happens. Let's run through a couple of things as we start out. Here's some statistics here. Every year there's almost 11 million automobile accidents across the country. That's a lot of pain and property damage that's out there. About 4% of the vehicles that are registered and on the road are involved in accidents each and every year. That's a big toll on our economy and on people, because a lot of times there are personal injuries that are involved with that. And the trust is no different. We're right in line with the national average of percentage of vehicles that get in an accident each year. For us, on a personal level, you are statistically likely to have an accident once in about every 10 years of being out there driving or riding on the roads. That's a pretty heavy toll when you think about that, every 10 years. So if you've gone along and haven't had accidents, hopefully you're a skilled driver. If not, you've just been lucky. But realize that this is the potential. Each of us will probably be involved in accidents sometime during our lifetime. We need to be prepared for what that means to us. So that's really what this webinar is about, is getting prepared, thinking about the steps that we'll take if an accident happens, and having the materials available to help us out. So a couple of things we ought to do. First, think about it. If the chances are that likely that we're going to have an automobile accident, we got to go through our head prior to an accident happening. What am I going to do? Somebody runs into me, or heaven forbid we have a very serious accident. What do we do at that point? Prepare ahead. Have those emergency notification numbers programmed into our phone. Who do I have to call? If it's your supervisor, make sure your supervisor's phone number is programmed into your phone. If it's somebody else, have their number so we can get in touch with them as soon as possible, and we're not having to chase down those numbers. Know where your insurance information is. For most of us, we are using an employer-provided vehicle that we don't own, and we may actually share that with a number of other drivers. So we're driving that quote-unquote company car or company truck. Check in there and find out where that insurance information is. Also check and make sure the registration is there. Besides having a legal requirement to have that, it's really important to have that so we can share the appropriate information if an accident does happen. So just take a second, open up the glove compartment and make sure it's there, or maybe it's somewhere else in the vehicle, but just verify that it's there. A few other things that are important for being ready in an emergency. We talked about this a short time ago, at the start of the winter season, preparing for driving in winter roads. Just have our vehicles prepared. Try to keep your fuel tank above half tank. Have your cell phone charged and have a charger in the vehicle so we can make emergency calls if we need to. We hope you're not hanging out on that phone too much in the car, but it is good to have there in an emergency. Shovels, jumper cables, tow straps, first aid kits, all of those things are important to have in the vehicle, and have that emergency kit built. So in the event of a problem, we're prepared and ready to handle that. Along with that, some emergency equipment, triangles, reflective vests, tools, and other equipment that we might need to protect ourselves, even down to maybe some food and water in the event that we got stranded somewhere. Warm clothing or blanket, going into the summer season maybe less important, but having materials so we're prepared for that is really an important part of preparing for an accident to happen. But when an accident happens, there are a few really critical things that we have to do to start out with. Number one is stay calm. And some people say, well, hey, I've just been in an accident. I have a right to be panicked. Well, this is a situation we don't want to take panicked or rash action. We need to stay calm for your benefit as well as the benefit of others there, because some people may be injured or they may panic in this situation. If you stay calm, you'll be able to help them out. So thinking and preparing ahead of time will help us to stay calm. Get to a safe place. This is really the first and most important responsibility that you have, is to protect yourself and protect others. We've had some very unfortunate situations in the last year in the state where people have been injured or killed going to the aid of other people or just responding to their own accident, and they've been hit by other vehicles coming into the accident scene. So we need to get ourselves into a safe location. And now this means if we're in the path of traffic and we get in an accident, take your vehicles to the side of the road. This doesn't mean that we do a hit and run and go several miles away, but get out of the path of oncoming traffic and get to a safe location. Think about which side of the road you go to, what's going to be the safest location for you and others in the area, and keep yourself safe. Be aware. Sometimes the very safest place for you to be is to stay inside your car, and you may want to stay inside your car until emergency responders arrive to use their lights and direct traffic and protect you, because this is a very dangerous situation when you have traffic flowing and you're a stopped vehicle on the side of the road. But get to a safe location, stay safe, be aware of what those hazards are, and keep yourself safe. Check for injuries, both on yourself as well as people within your vehicle and others involved in the accident. If there are injuries, render first aid. If you have a first aid kit, you can do some simple things to get people contained and take care of those serious injuries or even not so serious. That's really one of our first goals, is to take care of people that are injured. We always want to dial 911. Want to get law enforcement there, emergency responders there if there are injuries. Why do we say we always want to call the police in? Well, we highly recommend that you have a police officer come to every accident. One, so we maintain order, safety in the situation, but also it provides a police report that gives some good information to adjusters and others on trying to bring about a resolution to this claim. And a police officer is a good resource there, because they're a non-biased third party that will come in and really tell it how it is, and then we have a legal document that shows here's what happened there. So always bring in law enforcement. There are situations where they will not be able to make it there, but in every event we can, try to bring them in. The other step, and many of these happen almost simultaneously, we want to call our supervisor, or if your company has or organization has a specific person designated that if you have an accident you call them, then do that. Just follow your procedures there, but make a notification. They can help us out. Go through. It's stressful if you're in an accident. It's hard to think straight. So supervisor may help us to make good decisions there. Plus, it gets the notification out, so we can get you the aid that you need, and also make sure the claim is processed adequately. Okay. There are a few things that we should do, and some things that we shouldn't do. Things that we should say, and things that we shouldn't say. If we're in an accident, let's make sure that the other party is safe, that they're getting the aid that they need, so that if they're injured or they need some sort of aid, help them out. Be cooperative with the other party, other witnesses in the other area, those type of people. But we also want to be careful about how we interact with those people. Don't argue. Don't admit fault. Don't say, "Oh, my insurance company will pay for everything. I've got full coverage." You may not understand all the ins and outs of the claim. Even if you feel that you might be at fault, you may not be. So don't ever admit fault. Be cooperative. Share your information with the other parties, but try to avoid saying or doing anything that could indicate to the other party that you're accepting responsibility for this accident that's happened. We want to exchange information back and forth with the names, address, phone number of the parties that are involved, the insurance company, which is the trust, policy number, driver's license information, license plate of the car, who owns the vehicle, and who the driver is. So we need to exchange both of those pieces of information, because in most of our cases, our employer owns the vehicle and we're the driver. So both those pieces of information should be shared. And on the screen here, you'll look. This is one of our vehicle identification cards. That's where a lot of that information is found, and those should be in each of your vehicles. After that, as long as it's safe, we want to document what happened in the accident. Take lots of pictures. We used to distribute a disposable 35mm camera that you could take pictures with, but now with the proliferation of cameras in cell phones, it's much easier to take pictures just with our phones. Take a lot more pictures than you think are necessary. And if you can do it safely, get back and get the big picture of what's going on. The damage to the vehicles is fine, and it's good to have pictures of that. But the more important part of that is what's the big picture of this accident scenario, location, weather conditions, all of those things come into really determining what happened, not only from a claim standpoint with the trust, but also for our instant review committees, so they can have good information to go from when they're trying to determine what really happened in this situation. We want to draw a diagram, just a simple diagram on a piece of paper that shows what happened, what direction we were traveling, the different vehicles that are involved, if they're pedestrians or other things that may have been a factor in the accident happening. We want to get witness statements in a packet that we're distributing to all of our members for each of their vehicles. There's a simple pad of paper in there that we can pass around to witnesses of the accident, so we can gather their statements. We want to know what they saw. Everybody has a little bit different perspective there, and it's great to capture that information when we have an opportunity. Then fill out an accident report. And this is what I was referring to. In the near future, you'll be getting an accident or insurance information packet for each one of your vehicles that are insured with the trust. And in that, it has your proof of insurance for each of the vehicles, an accident report, which we'll go through in just a minute, a pen, and a pad of paper to help you gather this information. Sometimes after an accident happens, you're trying to find a pen or you're trying to find something to write down the information. We try to make it as easy as we possibly can. Here's a screenshot of our incident report or accident report form that will be distributed with this packet. This is the first section here. Has some quick, simple things along the top. Things that you should do. Hey, we want to stay calm, check for injuries, those things that we already talked about, and it just gives us quick information that we can use to make this the best situation possible. After that, we want to gather some information. What was the date, time, location of the accident? What were the conditions? Weather conditions? Was it dark? And details about the accident. Just write out a brief explanation of here's what was happening. I was proceeding along this direction on this road, and just write it out just like that, as easy as possible. The next part of that is we want to let's see, did I skip a page? There we go. We want to describe the damage to the vehicles, both yours and the other vehicle involved, if there is another one. If either of those vehicles are towed, take the information of who the towing company was, and then gather information on the other driver. Specifics, just like we talked to you about things that you need to provide for them, you want to gather that same information. If there are other vehicles, then you want to do this for each one of the other vehicles involved. Then, in this next section, we want to gather information about injuries. How many passengers, how many total people were in each vehicle that was involved. Even if they're not injured, we want to know how many were there. Because there is a potential that that they may have been injured and not noted it at the time of the accident. And so capture that, document what type of injuries, this person was in bad shape, they were transported by an ambulance, and that's fine. Maybe a person was complaining that their neck hurt, or just brief description like that. Then if we do have police involvement, which we encourage you to do, get the officer's name, the responding officer's name. If you can get badge number, that's great. It's always good to have a phone number from them and a police report number. Capture as much of that information as you can. We realize sometimes people are injured, and this is more difficult to gather. But our goal is to try to get as much as we possibly can. Then we gather information from witnesses. Name, address, phone number, and if you can, get them to write a brief description of what they saw, and just simply on that pad of paper that we provide, and then diagram the accident scene. All right, I was just looking, Doug. We have some questions there.
I don't see any that.
Oh, maybe it came directly to me. The question is, if we're calling the police, don't they require us to fill out all the things on the accident report, and they get witness statements? So why are we doing it again? Well, that's a good question. Really, the reason why is we want to have that information for internal purposes, for your incident investigation, but also it's due to time. We want to have that information as soon as we can, get that to the adjusters as well as back to our incident investigation group of our safety committee. So it's really about time. Here's a simple diagram. This is what a lot of accident reports will have is various configurations of an intersection. Put the cars on there with the vehicles having a point towards the front and a line that shows the direction and where they have traveled from. We chose to not put that on there and just left a blank area, so you can really diagram out exactly what happened from your point of view. I didn't put the lines in here. I was going to do it with the annotation tool that we had on here, but I can't seem to make it work. But a simple diagram. As far as reporting the claim, this webinar is not necessarily focused on that part of it, because for most of us, we don't do the report of the claim. We let our supervisor know, or the risk person back at the office, let them know what happened, and they call or report the claim online. But if you are in one of those roles, it's really simple. You can call it in with the 800 number shown, or you can do it online at injuryreport.utahtrust.gov, and it'll ask for a lot of the information that we have on that incident report that we just showed you. Let them know that you're a trust member. We do use a third-party administrator that provides the adjusters. So you just let them know that you're a trust member and your account number, and then tell them your organization's name, and then cooperate with the adjusters. They're on our team. They're trying to help us out to have the best possible outcome for this accident. So answer their questions, tell them the truth, and be truthful in all of our interactions, and that will provide the best possible outcome. if we just let them know, here's what happened, and if you feel that you're at fault, you can talk to the adjusters about those things, and just let them know that, and they'll work with us. They're a good team, and they'll work for us for the best outcome. All right. So just in summary, a few things. We want to be prepared. Think about the accident happening before it does. Keep yourself safe. Think about that. That should be your first and foremost responsibility when an accident happens, is keeping yourself and others safe. Don't put yourself in harm's way, even to protect others there. Sometimes staying in your car is the best possible location for you because you have protection there. Know what your organization's procedure is. If you have a CDL license, you have additional requirements when you get in an accident. If you have property damage, vehicles towed away from the scene, or personal injury for people that have to be treated away from the scene, you're required to go through a CDL drug screen process. Your organization may have another drug screen process that requires everybody to have some sort of a drug and alcohol screen after an accident takes place. So know what your procedure is, follow that, make sure we report promptly to our internal folks, and also that claim gets to the trust quickly, because that's the way that we can manage these in the best possible manner. Collect that information, cooperate with others involved in police in these matters, so we get the information smoothly, and then hopefully we can get that taken care of as soon as possible. All right. Any questions that we have? I'm just looking over here at the chat box. If you have a question, please go ahead and type that into the chat box. We'll watch that. I do have a question. It says, will the webinar be available for download? Yes. We're recording this. We recorded the one this morning. I'll think about which one was better, and we'll post those up. I believe our IT person is out today, so it may be a couple of days before we can get the webinar posted up, the recording posted up to the website. But we will send out a link as soon as it's up there. And we have dozens of other webinars that are there available if you're interested in those. We will be sending those packets out in the near future. We're just waiting on some items to put all of that together, but you can plan on getting those as soon as we can get those out. And we will also, we had a request in the first version of this webinar for the slides. I'll send those out on a PDF. They're a little too big to email out to people in the PowerPoint format, but I'll send them out in full screen PDF so you can use those as a presentation if you want to talk through this with your staff. And like I said, the webinar will be available. The recording will be available. All right, looking to see if we have any more questions. Doug, did you have any come in?
No questions came this way.
All right. Well, thank you very much, folks. I appreciate everybody taking some time. Apologize for the technical difficulties at the outset. I think we got that all straightened out. I appreciate everybody's continued support of these webinars, and we'd love to have your suggestions, comments over what you'd like to see, or ways that we can do these better. If you like it, we always like to hear that too. But we appreciate everybody's attendance, and encourage everybody to go out and have a safe day. Thanks so much.